In this module, we'll take everything we learned up to this point and begin our detailing phase. Let's start off by fixing some of the issues we had with our smart material from our previous lesson. Make sure we're on the legs texture set to begin the lesson, and having a look at this thigh guard, it looks as though it has the bar material assigned to it. So I'll view the bar mask, and right away we can see it's assigned to that portion of the mesh. So why did this happen? Well, if you remember correctly, we assigned this bar material using the polygon fill tool on this front area here. Now, anytime you do any painting or polygon fill, and then try to make a smart material, the smart material will try to fill those corresponding areas based on those selections. And because our legs texture set is a completely different set of geometry, it just won't reproject correctly. The other area was the glossy paint pattern, which is showing up in this odd area by the knee pad. This mask was created by using the paint while we were on the head texture set. And just looking at the handlebars, they're not using the metal material we created in the previous lessons. Let's tackle this pattern first, since it's the easiest one to fix. I'll view the pattern mask, and we can see it's randomly painted itself onto parts of the mesh. In this case, we can simply remove the mask by right-clicking and choose Clear Mask. Now the handles on the back and the thigh guard can be fixed by going to the polygon fill and manually correcting those errors, but you may come in a situation where there are far too many errors to correct. For example, now that we're this far in the project, I've changed my mind about the material assignments of these bolts by the legs. Of course, we can spot correct using the polygon fill tools in painting, but another way to fix this is going back to the source bake. Since all of these materials are assigned using a color selection using the ID map, yellow being the base paint, blue being glossy paint, we can go ahead and just rebake this map. So what I've done offline is head back to ZBrush and reassign my polypaint colors. Now keep in mind, you don't need ZBrush to do this. You can simply assign different materials if using a different 3D package. Here's what we started off with, and here are my new color assignments. Now this new FBX has been re-exported, so back in Substance Painter, all we have to do is recompute the ID map. Let's go back to Bake Textures, which is located in the Texture Set setting, and choose Bake Textures. I'm only going to rebake the ID map this time, so we can disable all the other maps. And I'll remove the original high def mesh and replace it with my new one. Now all I have to do is hit the Bake button and a new ID map will be generated. You'll notice that I added a red color to the map. This is to represent the bare metal. So let's go and remake our smart material, this time with minimal painting to assign materials. Let's go back to the head texture set. On the bars, we'll add mask with color selection and choose the red color. We can delete the paint effect from the glossy paint mask and do the same with the base paints folder. Now I'm removing these base paints effects because they are manual mask creation processes, whereas the color selection is reading strictly off a texture map. Like before, we can right-click on the main folder and choose Create Smart Material. Now, let's go back to the legs texture set and delete the whole layer stack. And we can just reapply our smart material. Now it looks like as if all my materials are assigned correctly, like the bars, the thigh guard is fixed, and my bolts are now using the main base paint layers. The only one that needs manual fixing is the pattern, which is easy enough to fix by clearing the mask. So keep in mind, when creating a smart material, you want to try to minimize the amount of manual mask options, such as polygon fills, or you'll get some odd projections since they rely on the physical geometry and the space of the object. Instead, if you rely on color selections, it'll be reading your baked map as opposed to the geometry. Of course, once the smart material is applied, feel free to use any of the other masking options. And don't be afraid to change your source meshes to do a rebake to fix any issues along the way. We only did the ID map this time, but if you want to change your high poly to get some more details in it, you can always rebake at any point. With both our texture sets in a good spot, we'll move on to painting height in the next lesson.